Notts County Talk, we are live with episode 31 of the Pavis Perspective podcast. Second time this season, I haven't been doing this with George. He's picked a pretty good week to go to Lanzarote. I'm joined by Matt, who was with me earlier in the season and also at half-time on our vlog of the Chesterfield game. Matt, how are you doing, mate?
Not too bad. Got over yesterday or Tuesday, whatever day it is these days. Not a great result, but yeah, good to be here. Good to be back.
Do you want to just tell us why you got a cap on inside?
No, I don't.
I've heard someone's been trying to head an Easter egg, and now I've got
I may have possibly tried to head an Easter egg about 20 minutes ago, and now I've got a big bruise on top of my head.
Shocking.
Also lacking in hair, so you know.
Yeah. So George isn't with us. He's obviously away at the minute. He was gutted not to be at the Chesterfield game, but by full time, he's probably quite happy not to be there. You just said you sort of got over it. It's a strange one for me. I was absolutely gutted after the Grimsby game. Gutted. And I got over it within sort of a day or two. And I'm usually like that. And I'm not over Chesterfield yet. It's the first time this season I've taken this long to be over a game. I tried to analyse it a few times, and I just don't know what went wrong. For you, Matt, what do you think that on the whole performance, was it a good performance at any point?
It wasn't bad first half. I mean, I think it was a pretty even first half. I mean, I remember sitting with you and off camera kind of saying, they've not been bad. They haven't been great, but they haven't been bad. They looked okay defensively, and that tends to be the area that they, tends to be the first area to go. If anything, they looked a bit toothless up top, which is kind of the opposite for Notts. But then obviously the second half came, and the defence collapsed, and the strike force didn't step up, and it turned into what was a very, very disappointing performance and disappointing night all round.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna go into that a lot more this episode, but if you haven't seen the poll already, it's what's the correct way to make a cup of tea? Is it milk first, then water, or water first, then milk? Ian says he doesn't drink tea or coffee, so he's out. Ian, to be honest, I don't drink tea or coffee. I don't think Matt drinks tea.
No, I'm doing no tea or coffee either.
I'm being asked. The reason it's the question, I've been asked to make it a fair few times to my partner, and she just says I get it wrong every time. She said I make it too hot, which is impossible. But yeah, there we go. I don't really get that. Green tea, Shane says, is an option if you're a herbal person. You know, so be it. Yeah. So for me, there were three standout players in that game. The first one, I thought Eli Sam. I thought he was very, very good. And I'm sure a lot of people do. He came off, he said he was feeling his hamstring or something, or he was really tightening up. Fair enough. I don't know. We had the discussion on the way there. He's had his run of games now. Is he a 90-minute player full stop? Because now he's had his run of games. I'm not really sure. But what you get out of him in, the 60, 70 minutes you have, fantastic. The second one, Richard Brindley. I thought Richard Brindley was fantastic. The penalty I watched back is not a penalty. He's not even touched him. And I think at that point, the Notts fans were so far away and so fed up that we just sort of gave into it. And the third player I thought was pretty decent was Adam Chickson. I thought they were the three that stood out. And there's a case for Yaros in his saves department, but the passing was off for me for Yaros. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. His passing wasn't great. I mean, it's a bit of a worry, really, isn't it? Because by all accounts, he was brought in for his distribution, and that was, no one really questions Sam Slocum's ability to stop shots. He's perfectly capable of that. And so the question has always been on his distribution, whereas we've brought Yaros in, and shouldn't always compare, but to compare him to Patterson, who he's a direct replacement for, it's incomparable, their distribution. Patterson was very, very competent and looked calm on the ball and sometimes slightly over calm on the ball, whereas Yaros, he went long a lot on Tuesday. And I know some fans will say, well, it's good that we went long. It's good that we didn't just play out from the back, but it wasn't a play long with purpose. It was just a clear your lines into absolutely anywhere. And that is what makes it slightly concerning.
Yeah. I think we were completely spoiled with Patterson. completely. The guy's playing League One football now, like week in, week out. He's a great keeper. So whoever we were going to get isn't going to be the level. Yaros made some good saves. There was one in the second half, right down to his right, which was a fantastic save. And Chris says here he thought Yaros played well, but the passes on the pitch didn't help. The pitch was in terrible condition. Bertram said it's the worst we've played on. I'm not sure it was worse than Kings Lynn, but it wasn't great, was it? It really wasn't a great pitch. So maybe that played a part. I think some of the passes back to him were hospital passes, literally. They were giving him no time to clear the ball. Chesterfield, all credit to them, press well. But that's a department, we're never gonna see the keeper we had in Patterson.
They did press well, but you've also got to remember that you've got a 6'2" striker up front who you can play long balls to. He's very good at holding a ball up. Next to him, you've got Eli Sam, who is another 6 foot plus player. It's not like we're playing with a bunch of Lionel Messis up top in terms of height. We can play long.
Even Ruben's not small. Ruben's not a small player. You've got Nemain and Cal probably that you wouldn't expect to be winning things. But I then want to look at the back line because a lot of people are calling for Rawlinson to have been brought on in that situation or to be played in a game like that. Obviously, he's not played for a while. Rawlinson, is he the answer?
For some, it will be yes. Personally, I can't see Notts changing the way that they play. And that's not just an Ian Birchnell thing. That's a Reeds brother thing. It's a whole project. They want to play this particular style of football. And if you remember when they brought Ardley or took Ardley out and brought Birchnell in, it wasn't because results were terrible. Because actually, we're on exactly the same number of points as we were last year under Ardley. It was a style of play and a future thing. Now, that style of football isn't going to change, and I'm not sure Rawlinson fits in with that style of football. He's not known for his passing or his ability to bring the ball out from the back. He is very much a old school head it, kick it defender. Nothing wrong with that. However, it either means not completely change their style of play, which I can't see them doing, or we've put a defender in there who probably isn't up to the standard of a Brinley, who I imagine would be the replacement for him in terms of his distribution out from the back. So for me, no, but it doesn't mean it won't happen.
I can see why he'd be coming on for the end of those games. Games like that,
Oh, I mean, it's a whole different
1-1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different discussion. The management of games. It's a hard one, isn't it? Because I remember probably sitting 12 months ago, and a lot of Ardley games would be 1-0 up. And, we'd start throwing on defenders and we'd all go, God, this is so negative. But then on the other hand, we sat there at Chesterfield in the away end and 1-0 or 1-1 or whatever it was, he starts, putting on more strikers and smaller players when Chesterfield are dominating, especially in the air and on set pieces. And it feels from a Birchnell stance, and I'm not saying Birchnell his job should be under question, but it does feel like some of not the coaching, but the management of games could be a little better. I mean, Wootton going off was a strange one. A man who is renowned for being really good in the air when Chesterfield were piling on those set pieces and putting in for Cairo Mitchell, who, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's bad in the air, but you would put, Wootton behind, the very few players in the squad who you put him behind in the air in defending a set piece.
It was a very strange. Yeah, he definitely wanted to go for the win, but it killed us ultimately. It did kill us. I've got a lot of people talking about here the set piece coach. We'll go into that in a second. We'll then move further up the pitch. Just in a word, who for you pairs with Palmer? Because Vincent was a bit of a passenger on Tuesday night.
He was a bit of a passenger, but he also hasn't played in a long time. And if you remember back to when he was in the team consistently, he was a very, very good player. And to be fair, I was surprised when he stopped playing. I get that Ed Francis came in and he offers a bit more defensively, especially when you're playing a 4. You've got a little less at the back. But for me, I like Francis. He didn't cover himself in glory on Tuesday. He didn't look particularly, you could be forgiven for not realising he was, playing half the time. But sorry, Vincent. So, I mean, for me, on current form, Francis probably comes back in, and we play that sort of 3 with Ruben a bit further up. But I wouldn't have a problem with Vincent coming back in and giving him a run of form.
Well, I turned to you when he bought Brunton, and I said, effectively, you've now got Palmer in the centre on his own. Like, that was suicide, and they were having 10, 15 yards. Absolute, it was. You had at that point Brunton, Roberts, Eli Sam, Rodriguez. Yeah, Rodriguez will track back, but he's not defensive. Cal tracked back a bit. He's not going to bust the gut to get back every time. Eli Sam was. But then it brings me to a player that people in the chat are saying, and people have been saying a long time. And I've had nightmares about that Ruben miss at 1-on-1. And the bad thing is, he had time to score. He never even looked like scoring. I never got excited because I thought he was going to score here. He literally, I don't know what he did. I don't know what happened there. He sort of took his time, and they got players in front of the ball. And the thing people are saying is, have Ruben, especially, and Wootton not been at it since these rumours started. And I've seen a lot of things about different players. Ruben especially, for me, has dropped his level. He scored against Barnet. I don't think that goal should really have gone in. The goalkeeper, his wrists were made of jelly. Awful.
Poppadoms.
Yeah, Poppadom wrists. Ruben scored against Woking, fantastic, but it's a little bit, it's a flash in the pan at the minute.
Yep.
Have they been the same?
No, in short. However, I don't think it's because of the transfer interest. I think it's a whole different issue, which is a lack of second choice striker. That for me, the problem with Wootton is, there isn't a problem with Wootton. The issue is he has to play every single game because we don't have a strong enough second choice striker. You look at some of these teams at the top. You've got Chesterfields. They've got, they had the Shamanga. They've got Asante.
Asante impressed me.
Yeah, they've got some really decent players. You look at Wrexham, loads of strikers. Stockport, loads of strikers. Notts have got Wootton, really, really good player. Probably one of the top 3, 4, 5 strikers in the league. But then, if you start looking at a second choice striker, you've got Cairo Mitchell, which, all credit to Cairo. We haven't seen a huge amount of him, so we can't judge. But there is probably a reason why we haven't seen too much of him, which is probably that Ian Birchnell doesn't think that he is suitable or ready in his current progress or development to start as a first choice striker for Notts. And I think that is the issue, is that we don't have a strong enough second choice striker. Wootton is running himself into the ground. He must be physically tired. Playing Tuesday, Saturday, it's relentless. You're training probably once or twice a week. And, same with Ruben, really. Now, I think there probably is a bit of support for Ruben. There's Brunt. You could move Roberts inside. You could not play a 10. But Ruben is another player with a system that we play. He's very heavily relied on. And so I think it's more a fatigue thing than a transfer thing.
I saw something on Twitter, a few people saying, and this is, I've not really disagreed with anything as much as this. They said Wootton's lazy, which I would say is completely wrong. Not a chance he's lazy. He runs down the channels, he holds the ball up, he gets climbed on. And what you've got to forget is that in a physical situation when someone's battling with you, that can in some terms be more tiring than doing a 10-yard sprint. If you've got to use your whole body to hold people off, he works so hard for the team. And yes, he misses chances. But like you say, there is literally nobody in that side that can take his place at the minute. I'm thinking of people I'd like to see. Eli Sam, goal scoring form. You move into the centre. I wouldn't do it. Why? The options I'm thinking, to play Rodriguez up top on his own, don't think it happens.
No.
The only thing I can possibly think, like you said, without playing that striker, is let's see what Aaron Demann's like in behind. If teams are willing to press us, even if it's to rest Wootton for a game, even if Notts are in a game and they're 2 up, they're comfortable, just give Wootton a rest. Let's see what the man can offer him behind, because he causes havoc.
Yeah,
I feel like he pushed people back. He pushed the team back.
Probably so. I mean, he's definitely got some pace about him. There's no question on that. I think the difficulty is you make the team quite one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I know Burton was big on the idea of playing through the lines, and sometimes that is a forward ball up to Wootton and sort of breaking that press. If you play someone like the man who is, I don't know his height, but he's certainly not 6 foot. Let's put it that way. Um, you haven't got that option to go long or break the lines. You're relying on them playing out from the back, and all that takes is a team to press, and you're struggling. You're struggling really there.
Yeah. Danny, a Chesterfield fan, says, why did Button come off for Mitchell? Yeah, I just think absolutely shattered. Like, he must be near, almost like Palmer played almost every minute this season. I think he was just physically battling up there on his own.
Baffled. Defensively, should have stayed on, let alone offensively. Defensively, should have stayed on for those set pieces.
Yeah, and we crumbled, when he went off, and then at one point he was off and Eli Sam was off. You've got Kyle Cameron there to win it. Literally Kyle Cameron there to win it. And Mitchell, I don't really know much about Mitchell's aerial ability. We haven't seen enough of him. But you're never going to win from corners. You're never going to win the ball. And also, we gave away, we defended the box pretty well. We gave away an awful lot of corners. And no matter who you play, if you're outnumbered physically or height-wise, a corner's going to go in at some point. The fact it's 2 corners has a lot of people here questioning whether what's happening with the set piece coach. And before you give your point, Matt, I'm just thinking to myself, if you can see 2 from a corner and lose to, I don't know, Woking, for example, can see 2 from a corner or lose to somebody else in the league, Aldershot. I don't think it's as damaging as losing with 2 corners to Chesterfield. Things can set in then. It's highlighted more. We were shocking. The first goal, I know it wasn't a corner. It was a sort of a second phase, wasn't it? I think the second goal, he's got 10 yards in the box. Who's going out to him? And the third one, really, really poor. I thought very, very poor. It need 11 Dion Kelly Evans. Yeah, I agree.
Not with his height. Not when on about set pieces.
World Book Day. Dion Kelly Evans gets booked every game, doesn't he? It's good. It's good to see him back on the bench. I thought they were just going to bring him on for a scrap when it went 3-1. If we had any more subs to put on,
I thought we was going to go to 5. To be fair, and I thought even the man or Kelly Evans would have come on for Roberts. I mean, we said it, I think at 1-1, getting a man on for Roberts stretched them because they were just coming forwards and there was no options. There was nothing to push them back. But,
they had an awful lot of players out injured as well. They had something like nearly 10 players they were considered to be first team or bench out injured, and
this is it. This is what we kind of touched on earlier. Strength in depth, something that not certainly top half of the pitch don't have.
Exactly. We've got it elsewhere. Abundance at fullback. If we could play a team full of fullbacks, would be all right. But
2 good right backs, 2 good left backs. You got some questions over centre backs, 2 good goalkeepers, good midfield. But it's just those once you get past the lines of your Roberts, your Rodriguez, your Wootons, your Sam at the moment.
Yeah, I quite like this. Quite like this. What Chris has said. It did sort of feel like that. We rolled the dice for a win and ended up losing. At this point in the season, I do feel it was like that. I think he saw the game. He saw Notts were really under it second half, and he thought, I'm going to put these attackers on. And it really didn't work. And for me, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, they did roll the dice, but I think the writing was probably on the wall way before we rolled the dice. I remember sort of 1-0, 1-1 talking to you and saying, I can see how this is going to end. So I'm not sure it was a question of let's not hold on to what we've got. Let's go for it. I think it was a case of we're going to concede here anyway, because that's certainly how it felt.
Yeah, it did. And the final point before we go on to look ahead to the next game, I've seen this on Twitter as well. Some people call him Birchnell out. Definitely not for me. Absolutely no way. No way.
It's not going to happen. I can't see it happening. To be fair, I get the whole. He's only done as well as Ardley. I mean, something else to consider, and I know this probably doesn't fit what everyone thinks, but why do you go to football games? Is it to just see your team pick up 3 points, or is there an element of it that wants to enjoy watching football? And I don't know about you, but I've enjoyed watching Notts a hell of a lot more under Birchnell than under Ardley. And you know what? If we're in the same place, fine, fair enough. It's not great, but I'd much rather watch Birchnell ball than Ardley ball.
Yeah, I agree. But it's interesting, isn't it? And aside from that, the experience of going to the game, you know, that's what we go to Notts. We don't go to Notts to see them win every game. You know, even though the end result, be too easy. Even the end result is not going to be a win. You know, we still got this Eli Sam goal. I tweeted earlier that I watched the highlights. The noise is 10 times louder than Chesterfield. You know, as we were speaking on the way back, it's not the best stadium to keep the noise in. It's not fantastic, but the noise from the away end, and you know, for those few seconds when that goal goes in, everyone's going crazy. That's what you go to football for. So I'm sure there'll be more moments like that this season.
Yeah, exactly. And you just want to enjoy football. I think that's the thing. People in this day and age get so hung up on how loud a team sings or how many fans that they bring. There's so many more evils in the world than in football. You look at all these people supporting, you know, a Manchester United or an Arsenal when they live 5 hours up the road, and you want to pick on people for, oh, you only brought so many fans, or you didn't sing as loud as someone that turned up 4 weeks ago. It's like you should just applaud people for supporting their local team.
I see that quite a lot with Weymouth. People say that, like, 50 Weymouth fans away tonight, or you know what I mean? Just leave it. I
mean, yeah, they probably live about 4 hours from those games. So
yeah, I know.
Fair credit. I sometimes turn up on a Saturday and think, God, I wish I didn't bother going 15 minutes up the road. So
exactly. Charlie says we're going to Solihull. I'm going to Solihull. Got George a ticket for Solihull. Are you going to be there?
Probably. I don't plan that far in the future.
Yeah, well, we'll see. You never know; these games could be called off. So, the final point, and you might be able to help me out in the chat, or Matt, you might know off the top of your head. If the answer is no, then that's one of the reasons why Notts aren't up there this season. Have Notts won a game late on this season? As in
Grimsby?
Last 10. Grimsby. Well, how did I forget that I was there? Are there any more? Because other teams around have won 2, 3, 4. You know, some teams have won 4 games last minute. Does Grimsby away?
I mean, the bigger question is how many times have Notts taken an early lead?
Yeah.
I can think of about one.
Well, then he's saying you look at the rest, you know, Halifax in the trophy. You look at that, then we're not doing it at either point of the game, and you're focusing it all on the middle.
We're not starting strongly or finishing strongly.
No, and that's your problem. That might be your problem. So we'll erase this Chesterfield from my mind.
Please.
Wasn't a very good performance. Let's take the positives. Eli Sam, what a player! What a player! And if he carries on like this, it'll be him we're worried about going, not Ruben or Kyle, because he seems to be putting in a performance every single game he's played. I think it's 7 this season. So if you haven't gone to the poll, I'm looking at the results right now because I can see it live. Unbelievable results for this. Milk first or water first when making a cup of tea? I'll tell you where I am later on. You know, these are the questions, man. I know you've only joined me twice this season. These are the questions people live for in the chat.
And you've got 2 people that don't drink tea or coffee to
commentate on it. I make plenty. I make plenty, and they're never good enough. You know, the next day I still get asked. My partner still says, "Oh, will you make me a cup of tea?" Never good enough. We'll get to that at the end. So, Yeovil at home. It's nice to have a home game. Yeovil seem to be our bogey team quite often. I know we got the win against them earlier in the season. That was a really good win coming off the back of 3 poor results then. They've lost Quigley. I think he was up front for Chesterfield, was he not? Or he's at Chesterfield? Yeah. Joe Quigley.
Joe or Scott, one of
them. One of them. I think it's Joe.
Quigley was up.
Quigley is at a team near the top.
Like a trialist. They just appeared in places. Quigley.
Yeah. Concern you? Yeovil concern you massively?
I mean, they're a decent side. They're not, particularly challenging for the top playoff place at the moment, but equally they're nowhere near getting embroiled into the bottom half, although they're pretty cut off at this point. Former league team, so I'm sure they've got probably a bit of money. They've probably got a top 10 budget. we've been in this league long enough to know that there aren't any teams that don't concern you. And to be fair, more longer to that, being a Notts fan, you know that there aren't any teams that don't concern you.
Yeah.
Am I worried? The home form does tend to be better than away form. They tend to play a lot better at home. They tend to be more dominant in the ball, and teams don't tend to press as much. And if they do, it's because of how the pitch is and the way that Notts play at home. It's a lot easier to kind of ride that out.
Yeah.
We've got to expect 3 points. They need 3 points. We're at the stage of the season now where any more slip ups and we're properly thinking, are we going to get into the playoffs as opposed to are we going to get into that top 1 or top 3 spots? I think definitely the former is gone now. But yeah, we'll see.
They've won 1 in 11, which is not good. They did
prime. They're going to beat Notts form that.
Yeah, they did pretty well against Chesterfield. Like someone said in the chat, Max said they did well. It took a pretty much of a wonder goal for Chesterfield to win that game. And someone's just mentioned Barnett at left back. Now, you would massively hope that Notts can turn them over if they've got Barnett at full back. I personally think Cal Roberts and Richardson will make it insanely difficult if he's defending against them. They've got not much to play for. They're not going to go down. They're probably not going to go up. And at this point of the season, we've got 15 games left. Imagine having nothing to play for with 15 games left. So they're an anomaly to me. Complete anomaly. I don't know what I'm going to expect from them. I can't really preview them as much as other teams have played. I just think bogey teams sometimes, 1 win in 11, don't do a Notts.
Yeah, there's no pressure for them. They might fancy a chance of getting a late playoff push, but there's that lack of pressure. Whereas Notts do have pressure. They're kind of in the place now where any more slippers, as I said a minute ago, and they're not going to get what they want, which is top 1, top 3.
Yeah.
Yeovil don't have that pressure at the moment. They've got nothing to lose, whereas Notts have got something to lose. And teams are now kind of sussing out Notts. They know that if they press them really hard, then they do struggle to get through the line sometimes. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Obviously, we're at home. We've got the good home form. Yeovil's away form is pretty good as well. So that could be something we have to look at. But like Ian said, we've just got to take it 1 game at a time. And I know Birchnell and all the players in their interview, they're trained to say, we don't look at the table, we take it 1 game at a time. I wonder if, as much as it's not a great thing to not get automatic, I wonder if it's a little bit of a, not a relief, but like a sort of a blessing in disguise, whether they were just too hung up about catching Stockport or they get these games in hand. And now they know, if we did finish first somehow, miracle, it's a bonus, a massive bonus. But now they just have to focus on getting as high as they can. They don't have to worry about chasing Stockport because realistically, mathematically, it's possible, but it's not going to happen, I don't think. We'd have to win. I generally think we'd have to probably win 12 of the last 15 and beat Stockport away for it to be any chance of that. So I'd love to have egg on my face in about 2 months' time, But I think maybe it could be a blessing. 2nd and 3rd is well within reach. Well within reach.
I mean, all it takes is a team to go on a bad run of form, really, and Notts have had their fair share of that. I know, a few others are. Sheffield had a bit of a blip. Wrexham didn't start too strong, neither did Stockport. But you never know at this level. You never know at this level. You look at someone like Torquay last year, who was walking the league and ended up finishing, in the playoffs. There's teams before who have been leading massively, or teams that have been destined to go down and not. So you never know at this level. There is so many anomalies and there's so many results that you'd never predict. Notts have had their fair share of them. That all Notts can focus on now is winning their games.
Exactly.
They need to forget everyone else. And you know what? Not only from not taking the pressure off Notts, it might now take that edge away from teams who are playing Notts. You're not playing, if you're a Wrexham or a Stockport or a Chesterfield or Boreham Wood, you're no longer playing a team that's also trying to win the league. You're probably playing a team that's not vying for that same place that you are, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We'll go to our team then.
Go on, then.
This will be an interesting one. For the past few weeks, myself and George have just had the same team pretty much. A couple of changes. So, first of all, formation. I would, since we're at home, I'd keep the 4 at the back, 4-2-3-1, I think. Would you?
I would match Yeovil. Yeovil tend to be 3-5-2. I would go back to 3-5-2.
Fair enough. So I'll go with my goalkeeper, Yaros.
Yep. Yaros will start.
And then my back 4, Chickson at left back. Cameron, Brinley, Richardson. I go the same.
Ooh. Now I'll go for something a little different. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I think it'd be interesting. I'll have for some variety. So Richardson's still at right back or right wing back for me. I would go for 3 centre backs. I would go for Richard Brinley. I'd go for your main man Cameron, and I would either, if I'll go proper left field here. I would play Ed Francis left centre back.
Oh my goodness. You're gonna get ridiculed. Left fullback Ed Francis. I know he used to play at fullback.
Left centre back.
I mean centre back, yeah.
Yep.
Why? I don't think that's going to happen.
Played on Football Manager, so we all know that's the truth. Well, the reason is because effectively how Notts plays, they play 1 centre back, and your right centre back and your left centre back bring the ball out. Now, no one can say Ed Francis isn't good on the ball and he can't pick out a pass. Equally, no one can say he can't defend. My only question would be the height in the air on set pieces. But you know what? Why not give it back? We need George back urgently. Yeah, he's coming.
We'll just pin that for a little bit.
Chickson at left wing back.
Do you know what Chris has said here? What I quite like: Chickson left centre back and Taylor left back if they play 5 at the back. Quite like that. Matt, you have got a supporter. Callum, I was telling Matt about you on the trip. We travelled to and from Chesterfield together. This is Callum. This is Mr. Chickson hat trick. So you'll see that in a little bit.
I like Chickson. I said right at the beginning of the season when me and Tom did the last video off camera, I think it was, because I rabbited a bit too much. He's my first choice left back ahead of Joel Taylor.
You called it. You called it early. You did call it early. So I then go 2. I go Vincent's playing back into a little bit of form at home. Energy complements Palmer well. I'm going Palmer and Vincent. That's my midfield. What's your midfield?
Yeah, I'd probably go Palmer and Vincent as well. So I've got a bit more defensive. So I feel okay playing playing Vincent. So you don't need that defensive midfielder.
Yeah, and then I'm then going controversial here. I'm going Cal on the right. I'm going. No, I'm going Cal on the right, Eli on the left, and in behind Kyle Wootton, I'm going sort of playing off. I'm going Aaron the man.
Oh, in the centre?
Because I couldn't put Eli in the centre.
No.
And I couldn't have Cal in the centre because I want him playing off that right. So if I'm Birchall, I'm grabbing the man. I'm saying, look, run wherever you want.
Not Zach Brunt?
No, I'm not too impressed with Zach Brunt.
So we're dropping Rodriguez.
I'm going to drop Ruben Rodriguez.
What's your logic there?
He missed a 1-on-1.
He
hasn't played
We're going for form as opposed to resting him.
Yeah, it's form for me.
Fair enough.
So Tom not scoring 11 on FanHub this week. Chris, if I get 11 on FanHub this week, you owe me a pint or something because I can see it. The man in behind. And also, it wouldn't do him any harm to have to fight for his place. You know, I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's to do with the transfer. I think he's okay with that.
He's got 18 months left.
I just don't think he's hit the highs. You know, at the start of the season, dragged us through the away game against Yeovil. We played pretty well that day. Scored 2 goals there. We haven't seen that. If he'd have continued to get a couple of goals, you know, we'll be there or thereabout or higher up the league. But he's missed a few decent chances. So I'm gonna say drop Ruben Rodriguez for this game, and then what an option to have off the bench. Aaron DeMann, I would like to see him start. Definitely.
Fair enough.
Rest of your side then. So you've got your 5 at the back, you've got your 2 midfielders.
Well, I'm also dropping Ruben Rodriguez. Controversially, despite asking you why you were doing it, I'm dropping him too. I'm going for a front three of Eli Sam on the left, Mr. Wootton up top, and Roberts on the right.
Are you resting or is it tactical? Or just
Tactical, because I don't think it fits into my formation as well. If
Fair
Sam
enough.
wasn't in the form that he was, I would say that he can come off the left. But for me, I think, I don't think it would hurt to rotate one of Wootton or Rodriguez, because they're the two that look most fatigued.
Yeah, definitely. Ian says, I think we all agree to drop Ruben, but I just can't see Bertrand doing it. This will be a test. Bertrand said people have to earn it. Ruben, love him, fantastic player. Does give his all. You know, although it didn't work from Tuesday, he was still trying to take players on. He was still trying to make it happen. If he got the
He
goal,
still looks a very good player. Don't get me wrong,
but it was the final ball, wasn't it? It was his final decision. His final pass was straight to someone else's feet for Chesterfield, or that one touch too many. Absolutely love him, love his passion, love his character. But I think just let's see what the man can do.
Just take him out of the firing line. I think it's one of those players that feels quite a weight on him. Probably the same that Roberts did at one point. I don't know if he feels quite that now, although maybe it started to creep back in again. But I think Rodriguez seems like a player that feels like there's a lot of pressure on him, as if he doesn't perform, then the team doesn't perform.
Yeah. The only other thing is Max has said is Eli Sam undroppable. The only thing I worry about Eli Sam is he seems to tighten up a lot at the end of games, and I think we need to manage him really well. I wouldn't even, depending on how he is, I wouldn't even be shocked to see him not start and the man out on the left, getting him ready to keep him for Solihull, to be fair.
You got this man love.
I love him. I love him. What a player. What a player.
For me, he's undroppable. You play him, you run him into the ground. If he's scoring every single game, you don't drop him. Why would you drop a player that's scoring every game? I don't care if he's going off at 60 minutes.
Let's go for our poll then. What is the correct way to make a cup of tea? Neither of us drink it, but I've made plenty. Milk first, then water. Water first, then milk. So you've got your tea bag, you put it in. 89% of people say it's water first and then milk.
Ooh. See, I always say milk first when I make it, which is probably why I'm the same as you, we get told off. I
go milk first, then water.
Yeah.
If I'm making a cup of tea, it's not for me. I don't want to be in that kitchen a long time.
Do you put sugar in first as well?
I get the tea bag, put it in.
Yep.
Boil the kettle.
Yep.
Sugar in, milk in, water, and then just let it sit. Then I don't have to waste my time waiting for the milk and.
Exactly. You always put it back in the fridge.
Callum says wrong. I mean,
we talk about this practically, not from an enjoyment.
I don't drink.
Watching the football stands.
I mean, from a selfish point of view, it's not mine to drink. So, and at work, I made a cup of tea once for someone. I've never been asked again in 6 years. So
no, I don't even bother.
I'm doing something right. So, next year we're saying you put boxes on after your trousers. That's George. Genuinely, that's George. So you can have a go at him for that next week, Callum. I go milk first, then water. I may have clicked the wrong one. Ellie, stand with you there. Grow up. If you put the milk in first, you're lazy. I'll admit I'm lazy. And I'm going to stop this conversation before it becomes upsetting.
Hatred towards us.
Yeah. So, score predictions then. Matt, as you're the guest, I will let you go first. Score predictions and goal scorers, please.
Not to due a more comfortable game, and I'm hoping Saturday is it. I'm going to go for 2-0, and I think they're going to break the mould, and I think they're going to get an early goal. I think it's going to be that man Eli again, because he's in such cracking form. So I'm going to go for an Eli goal, and I am going to go for a Kyle Wootton goal, because he plays well at home.
Before I give my prediction, Charlie said, are we having a Solihull Sunday preview? You will have noticed, Charlie, this is not the Solihull preview as well. So, yes, we will have I'm predicting now we'll have a sunburnt George back on Sunday. Definitely. I've seen a few pictures. He's round the pool. He's going to be sunburned, and you can give him a bit of stick then. I think his flight lands as not to kick off on Saturday. I think absolute shocker. But we'll be having a Sunday night preview. I'm going to go for a very uncomfortable 2-1 Notts win, where at some point some fans, the ones that just don't really know what's going on, will boo as Notts pass it around at the back and don't let Yeovil get the ball. I think it'll go 1-0 Notts, then 1-1, then we'll get a late winner that I've said, but I don't think it'll be comfortable at all. I think I'm going to go for 2-1. I think Eli Sam again, and I've said it. I think Aaron the man. He's going to get a goal. He's going to come on for a tired Eli.
I love Aaron the man.
I do. I think he's a really, really good player. Max says vlog on Saturday. I don't think we're going to be vlogging Saturday. I think it's going to be fan chats and player ratings. Let's see what you guys think. We've got Ian says 3-1 Ruben hat trick. Okay, you've not
got
over that
predictions to go anything by. He's on the bench.
If that's a Ruben hat trick, that would be brilliant. Max says 3-1 Sam Richardson and a Barnett own goal. A lot of 3-1s here. Ellie 3-1 Eli Roberts Wootton. Chris says 3-1. There's a lot of 3-1s. Shane says 3-1. Joseph 2-0 Eli Sam around the 30-minute mark. Late the man goal to seal it. That's what I like to see.
Everyone's getting to
Aaron the man. We need a cracking song for the man. 4-1 Notts. 2 for Eli Wootton and the man. If you can keep Eli taking over, I thought he might sort of have had a little rise in form and then his dip, but he really, really hasn't.
Form goes.
Yeah. 4-2 Eli Sam. 2 Wootton and Roberts. Here we go. 4-1 Chicks and hat trick and the man. Callum, you're our star viewer for the day. Getting that man in. Chicks and hat trick. Fantastic. Someone called James Royston. Don't know if you're related.
No scorer predictions. He must be lazy.
5-0. Can't even be bothered to put the score in. It just sums him up, really. And we'll finish there with Charlie's 3-0 Cameron, Lacey, Roberts. We really, really do need to have a bounce back. I know it's one game, but we definitely do. Matt, thanks for joining us. If you have enjoyed Matt being on the Pavis perspective, it's been really good to have him on. We will have him on later in the season, whether it's a fan chat, player ratings, or Pavis perspective again. If you have enjoyed, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I hope you enjoy the game on Saturday if you are going.